Welcome and thank you for joining us for the second half hour. The Factor Uncensored. Senator Mitch McConnell has unfortunately done it again. He had another frozen moment during a press conference. Take a look.
That's
Wow, I hate to see that. The senator was asked if he would run for re-election, and at first McConnell said he had a hard time hearing the question. The reporter repeats the question, and the 81-year-old just stared off into space. Back in July, the Kentucky senator froze at a similar press conference in D.C. That brings us to our question of the night. Should elected lawmakers leave office at a certain age? You all have been voting on Fox26Houston.com. 86% of you said yes. 12% said they should just pass medical tests. I don't know what that means, really. And 2% say no age limits are needed. Joining us now to weigh in on this, digital political strategist Shay Jordan Smith and state representative and attorney Jolanda Jones. So when you see those frozen moments, Jolanda, are you at all concerned about that? Obviously, politics aside, you're looking at a senior citizen in office making major decisions for this company. Are you concerned about the competency?
Well, I'm concerned about his. He's not the youngest 81-year-old I've seen. He's had 2 freeze-outs, we'll call them, within the last couple of months. And of course that's concerning because he's a senator. So he has a very, very, very powerful position, but I don't believe that there's like a necessary age per se, because I serve with State Representative Sophronia Thompson, and she's smarter as anybody, and she's 83 years old, and she can outthink. She can outthink a 25-year-old. So I think it depends on you. It also seems like it needs to be a conversation, like when your mom or your grandmom has been driving, and they ain't driving like they used to drive before, and you need to have that uncomfortable situation because it's dangerous for you. Well, in his case, it's dangerous, I think, for him and for the country. But what I think his staff needs to do is stop deflecting. When she was like, hey, speak up. That ain't had nothing to do with he couldn't hear. It had to do with he's old, his brain isn't working, and he is clearly a day closer to death every day. And I think that he needs to hang up his Senate shoes.
Shay, should his family step in and say, look, let's have this family conversation? It shouldn't have to be members of Congress. We should be able to tell you, come home, Dad. Take a break. Of
course, we would expect for the family to step in, right? But when your grandfather, your father has been in office for so long, you get used to being in that position of power. And not to make it a power struggle or, white-black thing per se, but if it was anyone else, if it was a black member of Congress, a black senator, or a black president, right, he would have gotten sat down a long time ago. I'd put it like that.
Now, Jolanda, we can recall when Senator Dianne Feinstein from San Francisco, when she became ill, a lot of her own members of the party, Democrats, were saying, it may be time for you to stop.
All right, but that's also a problem with elected officials just across the country, where people get used to the power and they just won't go nowhere. They stay forever. Like, I'm elected, but I literally am trying to find young people who I can pass the torch to, right, who understand the world is bigger than them. But there are some people who just will not relinquish the power. And how do you make McConnell leave? I went to his office when I was representing some kids when they had a die-in at the White House, and they were very mean to kids. His wife was threatening to arrest kids, and all they did was do a die-in. So there's power where you're commanding the Capitol Police to do this or to do that. And so, again, like Shay said, if you're used to power, you don't want to give it up. And I'm not even certain he's competent enough to know what's going on.
Important point. So at this point, should we look at legislation that would be on the national, local levels to deal with an age limit, or does that go into the realm of ageism?
Well, you got to teeter that line. It's a precarious line to kind of be on either side of.
And I think about that because what you said about Sophronia Thompson here and Dr. Elma Allen here, they're all just, excellent. They don't skip a beat. But go ahead.
But one of your questions was on that poll. It was, should they take some sort of assessment, whether it's medical, mental, physical tests to kind of reassess and see where we are with our elected officials. So say Ms. T would pass it, right? But say Mitch McConnell wouldn't. That means he would have to sit down, or not. Of course, they're not in the same body, but he would have to sit down from from there on. But then we also have to realize that these elected officials aren't always honest. If we look at Donald Trump, when he went into the Fulton County Jail this past weekend, or the past week, he said that he was the same height and weight as Lamar Jackson, the football player. So we have to be able to kind of to parse out the fluff and figure out what's really going on with our elected officials.
But there are tests when you're trying to figure out whether you need to handle your grandparents' affairs. There are tests to see if you have mental acuity. So we could do that when you're trying to like take over and be someone's power of attorney or what have you. So they should do those same types of tests where people can't carry a thought. They forget things. They can't manage a checkbook. They don't remember where they live. They don't understand, hey, are you running for re-election in 2026? And they freeze. I mean,
it would be shocking just how simple it is when they do those tests. Because when my mom had Alzheimer's or dementia, the doctor asked her, who's the president? Of course, she would know Barack Obama. He asked, what year was it? She was stumped. She did not know.
So there are objective tests, is what I'm saying, that we could use. I don't mean like physical stuff, because not everybody works out or whatever, although I do think strong bodies make strong minds.
Of course.
But they could use the same test they use to determine whether someone needs a guardian.
All right. We want to thank you both for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.